Very briefly, Yemen, on the road to a failed state. Well, Yemen is an extraordinary country. Patricia and I met in Yemen. It's a very special place for us. It's a beautiful country. Yemenis are some of the most hospitable, loving, wonderful people you can meet. We actually didn't know at the time, we were sort of kidnapped by the governor of Marib out here. Long story, but for 3 days we went out finding him. He has a little place in the up here. And he didn't know why we were chasing after him. He was the governor. And Marib had just joined up with the Yemen Arab Republic at the time, and I wanted to meet him. Anyway, we placed him in house arrest for about 3-4 days. Finally decided to like us and put us on his STOL aircraft, a little short-wing aircraft. Takes off about 50 feet in a little airport up here, former Egyptian airport, and put 17 of us in this little plane, including these Yemenis with their guns, their Kalashnikovs. None of them had been in an airplane in their lives. Long, everything, all sorts of things. Some shooting their guns out the window, everything. They didn't want to shoot out the window to blow the wing off. And we took off, over to Mars, whereupon he said, now you may be informed as governor. So that's our story about Mars and the governor. But anyways, Yemen's an extraordinary country. We were in Yemen with 6 million people. Since then, it's joined up with the south, which had about 3 million people. It now has a population second largest in the Arabian Peninsula. Of a landmass equal about twice that of New York and New England combined. So it's a big country, about 204,000 square miles. A population of 24 million people. That's 4 times as many as in, about 2.5 times as many as in Tunisia. Saudi Arabia has over 28 million. The birth rate is very high, over 3%. So it's a big problem. Saudi Arabia also has a huge birth rate, but I believe Yemen is probably a lot larger. Prior to the Arab Spring, Hambley, who became president in 1979, when his predecessor was blown up, and his predecessor had been shot by none other than Saleh. That's another story. In any case, he lived by the sword, died by the sword. I guess that may indeed happen to President Saleh eventually. But he has basically 4 serious challenges which faced him. First of all, he had a revolt of Houthis in the north. That's this area up here. The Houthis are a group of Shiite, Zaydi Shiite Muslims. In Yemen, you have 2 groups. You have the Zaydis in the north, who are Muslims of a sort of 5th wheel of Islam. They aren't true Zaydis, they are true Shiites, but they're closer to Shiites than they are to Sunnis. And they're only located up here in this part of Yemen. And because, as you do many times, these people thought that they had moved away from the purity of Zaydi belief, they formed a movement under a very charismatic leader and set up a revolt, which has taken the combined governments of Saudi Arabia and Yemen to task the past 4 years. And they've held out an area up here around Saudi, in this region, and have really given a lot of pause to President Saleh. Then we have the Southern secessionists in the south. The oil, which Yemen has been producing since the 1980s, is largely located down here in the south. Well, guess what? They don't get any of the proceeds of that. Most of the proceeds have gone out to Saleh, who hasn't used it to develop the country. He's used it to fatten his own pockets and those of his henchmen, including men in the military, and basically pay patronage to buy off all those who may try to overthrow him. So that's what oil wealth has gone. In the south, they're sick of it. They're very different from the northern people, so there's a new secessionist movement which is taking hold down in the south. And then you have Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda was previously quite strong in Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia, it should be, 17 of the 19 people who blew up 9/11 were from Saudi Arabia. There's a huge support for that organization in the kingdom. But the kingdom has used its great resources to largely eliminate Al-Qaeda's threat. They're constantly finding new groups and putting them in jail or re-educating or whatever. But many of the leaders have escaped down into Yemen and down south, particularly in Abiyan province down here, which is next to the started to place. But what's happened since the dates in February, since the revolt started in Yemen, Al-Qaeda has started out very strongly, took over the town of Zanzibar, capital of that province, and are now starting to threaten Aden. So secessionists and Al-Qaeda both vying for Yemen. We have also Sheikh Al-Awlaki, the American citizen sheikh, who's from a tribe which is located over here, near Mara. He also is someone we would like to see eliminated. And frankly, then there's another problem which everybody always faces, at least it's a crisis of succession. Abdul Salah's term was supposed to end in 2013. He would like his son to take over, Ahmed. That's not popular with his cousin, Ali Mohsen, who's a leading general, has now turned against him. And then you also have the Hashid Confederation, huge confederation of tribes in Yemen, which also want to take over his power. So now what you have a situation developing where an Arab Spring arrives and all these forces come together. It began simultaneously with the Egyptian revolt. Thousands of people went to the streets. I can't conceive of 500,000 people in the streets of Sana'a. There were only 100,000 in the city when we lived there. There's over 1 million now, I'm told. But indeed, there have been almost daily disturbances in Sana'a. There have been many, many people killed during those revolts by government-sponsored snipers and others. In March, major military units, Ali Mohsen and many other units, left the control of Abdul Salah, joined the revolt. But even so, there's still a situation where Abdul Salah has maintained his hold on power, given he controls the co-presidential guard, which is a very well armed and very effective military force. Prince Salah has no interest in relinquishing power. There have been several efforts to try to maneuver him out in a peaceful way. The GCC, Gulf Cooperation Council countries, have a wonderful initiative. They basically pay him off, let him avoid prosecution, and have him leave. Many in the opposition didn't want to see that. They want to see him charged for his crimes. But in any case, Salih Ahmar, the leader of the Hashid Confederation, finally brought the tribes into the city of Sana'a in late May, started to attack the president. They hit his compound on June 3rd, allegedly with a rocket, and killed several people in the mosque where the president was praying. The president was severely injured, and he's later evacuated to Saudi Arabia with serious injuries. In fact, it was not really a rocket. I think it's more than likely a bomb that was sequestered inside the mosque, which was detonated, but who really knows? But the problem is, since this has happened, the Houthis in the north, of course, consolidated their power. Al-Qaeda in the south has asserted its presence, as I indicated. Abiyan government is now largely in their hands. Government forces are no longer in a position to resist. And some are saying this was Abdul Salah planned all along. He always warned those who said, "You want me to go after one a deluge." They're much like Louis XV, warning Louis XVI came in, that after me chaos, and that indeed appears to be what is happening in Yemen. Most recently today, he was supposed to give a speech to people. I don't know if that speech occurred. I didn't see anything. But there's a report he will return to Yemen. Other reports he will not be able to. From my understanding, his wounds are of sufficient seriousness. I can't really conceive of returning to Yemen very soon. So is Yemen on the road to failed state? Salah will eventually go. Likely outcome is a new government which will be headed by a military command council. That's sort of a Yemeni tradition to do that in order to accommodate the requirements of the revolution, the activists that they'll have to promise new elections. Yemen is the only country in the Arab world which is a true republic. It has a constitution which is framed around a true republic. It's just they haven't applied it. So they do have a system which they could implement and have a quasi-representative government, I think. But you have people like the Hashid Confederation and others who may not be interested in that. Of course, those generals want to hold on to keep their pockets full, so they will not give power up very easily. Eventually, hopefully, the army will retake Zanzibar. Neat name, that's town in Abiyan. At the moment, there's a very good general in Aden, but he can't just have the forces to do that yet. But it doesn't matter what happens down there, there will be this group, a very responsible former Prime Minister of Yemen, of South Yemen, who is organizing a movement to secede. I think eventually republic will. So major problems remain: sectarian divide between Zaydis and Sunnis, disruptive role played by the Salafis, Al-Qaeda. You have the Houthis, you have the Salafis, who are Sunni Muslims, very, it's indicated, very conservative Muslims who aren't necessarily like Al-Qaeda, which is based on a violent approach. Then Yemen has very serious problems that others don't have. It has a very economy is in a terrible state. There are few jobs. 60% of the population under 25. They have decreasing oil and gas, but they're very high anyways, but it'll fall off completely within about 7 years. And the major problem facing Yemen is the major water deficit. Water, and the rains, normally a lot of rains in that part of the peninsula, the rains have not been coming. Water is very ill used for irrigation, and in one of the problems is the city of Sana'a itself will probably become the first major city without water in sometime in the next 10 or 15 years.